Sometimes you have fractions that have fractions inside them. For example, you might have something that looks like this, x over y plus 1, and that's all over 1 minus y over x. When you see this and you need to simplify, here's the strategy. Okay, so if you see fractions inside fractions, like the example in the upper right, then step 1, first simplify the top and bottom independently, turning each into a single fraction, and then second, only after you're complete with step 1, change dividing a fraction into multiplying by the reciprocal of the second fraction. Why does this work? Well, because division is multiplication by the reciprocal, and more specifically, you can't reciprocate a denominator if you have more than one term. So you first need to make sure you have a single fraction. So how do we simplify this fraction we were given here, fraction with fractions inside? You can't reciprocate 1 minus y over x as written. We need to turn that into a single fraction. That's why we are going to first, as step 1 says, simplify the numerator, x over y plus 1, and the denominator, 1 minus y over x, independently. So let's do that. So for instance, in the numerator, you had x over y plus 1. Well, we should first turn that 1, which does not look like a fraction, 1 over 1 into a y over y. So by multiplying by y on top and bottom, we have y over y to replace 1. So x over y plus y over y, at least there we have common denominator. So we can turn that into x plus y over y. Now let's look at the denominator. So this idea of working independently, that's why we haven't filled in what's under the large fraction bar yet. So 1 minus y over x is what's in the bottom. So we turn that 1 into x over x because of a need for common denominator to subtract. So x over x minus y over x will turn into x minus y over x. Here we have now a single fraction on top, a single fraction on bottom. Instead of doing one fraction divided by another, let's take the first fraction and multiply by the reciprocal of the second fraction. So we have times x over x minus y. Then multiply straight across. Right? One fraction times another, multiply straight across. You have x times the quantity x plus y over y times the quantity x minus y. So once the denominator was changed from 1 minus y over x to becoming a single fraction, we could then take the reciprocal. And then more importantly, since now that we had a single fraction, x minus y over x, we could now multiply by the reciprocal, which is what division is going to require. So here's another example. The numerator is 1 over x plus h minus 1 over x, and the denominator is just an h. So this is a fraction with fractions in it, although the denominator doesn't look like a fraction, it's just h. So let's even turn the denominator into a fraction so that it fits our format better. Okay, so the denominator, which used to say h, is now h over 1. In the numerator, there are these two fractions that have denominators x plus h as well as x. So to create common denominator, we actually have to take the first fraction and multiply the top and bottom by x, and take the second fraction and multiply the top and bottom by x plus h. Then doing so, then in the numerator, so nothing changed in the denominator, but in the numerator, now that the two fractions there have a common denominator of x times x plus h, we can stick this all in one fraction. So x minus, and then need parentheses here, x plus h all over x times x plus h. Please be careful that x plus h on top and bottom of the mini fraction, they don't cancel. We need to instead distribute the minus sign. So you have x minus h over x times quantity x plus h, and that entire fraction is over the fraction h over 1. Now we are at the point where step 1 is done, where we have, I guess it was done the previous step, but here we've done some work. Let's go ahead and simplify a little more. That x minus x is gone, so we just have a negative h. So negative h over x times x plus h all over h over 1. Okay, now it looks like things won't really simplify any further, so let's take care of fraction divided by a fraction, instead being written as first fraction times the reciprocal of the second fraction. Now we can multiply across, and you'll see that there's a factor of h on top and bottom that cancel. You'll be left with negative 1 over x times quantity x plus h.